we're going to be talking about a hugely insightful interview that the leader of the Scottish Nationalist Party has done with Nick Robinson. We have pearls of wisdom from him, like the fact that the police are investigating the disappearance of £600,000 from an independence fund, no charges have been laid, as being a little bit challenging in his first 10 months in office. But of course, that wasn't the best thing he said, because as this leader of the Scottish National Party, he has also said he doesn't like the title of his own party because he thinks it may have some far-right connotations. Well, what on earth is going on? Joining me now is the General Secretary of their biggest competitor up in Scotland, the Alba Party, Chris McEleny. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Have you ever been uncomfortable with the term national in the name of the Scottish National Party, given that you stood to be its deputy leader twice?
No, surprisingly, I have not. I think if you actually ask people across the UK and all of the nations of UK and Northern Ireland, what do they think is the greatest achievement in Britain over the last 100 years? What is the best institution that we've ever created? I think they would say the National Health Service. Because the clues in the word is in the name. It's national. It means it's a national health service for everyone. Now, when I was a member of the Scottish National Party, when it was led by Alex Salmond, it was a Scottish National Party. It was a party for everyone. It was Scotland's party, whether you lived in urban Scotland, rural Scotland, whether you were on the left of politics, the right of politics, whether you had a low income or you were successful in business. Sadly, that's changed, and it is true. The SNP no longer is the National Party of Scotland because it's very much over recent years focused on certain niche issues. You'll be familiar with the gender politics. Now we've got a conversion therapy ban coming. It's a party that reflects, a sort of a middle-class bubble of people that live around the Parliament in Scotland, as opposed to the people that live around the nation of Scotland. But Humza, I think he should be given some slack. He was obviously under pressure from a very tough interviewer, but really what he wants to do is give six of the best to his speechwriters, because all he's done is regurgitate some tired lines that Nicola Sturgeon herself used way back in 2017 when she too felt the need to demean the name of her party.
Well, Chris, let me just pick you up on something there, because this Nick Robinson political thinking podcast, and Nick Robinson, by the way, is a brilliant interviewer. It's not a sort of Jeremy Paxman-esque interview. It's a sort of fireside chat. So I don't accept that he was under pressure. It's meant to be a deep dive into the personality and what motivates people to be involved in politics. So, I mean, I haven't listened to it, but I guess having listened to these myself, that it's not a really tough interview.
Yeah, I was trying to be nice to him.
Okay, well, there you go. And that's his main...
Sorry, I've just lost the...
Fantastic. Look, let me ask you this. Really interesting to hear you say that when Alex Salmond led the SNP, it was a party of the whole nation. Humza Yousaf himself says, look, now we're just a party of the centre-left. That is what we are motivated by. And that, so he says in this interview, is why he's uncomfortable with using the word national in the name of the SNP. Do you think that reflects where the SNP now are? Are they a left-wing party pushing things like...
I don't think it reflects where Scotland or even the UK is. If you chat 1,000 doors and ask people to point to where they are on a political spectrum, I think that's the politics of the past, the 1980s type politics, whereas most people now, what do they care about? They care about, being able to get secure employment, being able to tackle the cost of living crisis, whether that makes them left wing or right wing. I don't think the majority of people care. But, I think that the fear of the word nationalist, it's a fairly non-British concept until recent times. I mean, one of my favourite English nationalists was Lord Byron, who of course said that England was a land whose beauties were tame and domestic, of course. But in a Scottish context, Robert Burns, whose National Day we celebrate next week, he was a nationalist. There's nothing wrong with the noble cause of loving one's country. And I think Humza should reflect that, there's nothing wrong with the name of the Scottish National Party. It's the policies of the party that are actually a danger to the people of Scotland, a danger to their incomes, and quite dangerous to the economy as well. But back to what you were mentioning, Alex Salmond, in 2014 during the independence referendum, I think probably about 50-50 was the balance of the business community in favour of Scottish independence versus against Scottish independence. Whereas today, that's probably about 1 in every 10 businesses think Scottish independence is a good prospect because of the anti-business agenda that Nicola Sturgeon and then Humza Yousaf as the continuity First Minister have pursued. So I think we need to, in Scotland, get back to, don't focus on slogans and names. Do what Alex Salmond did. Focus on competent government. Let people look out their window and see that you're making a difference to Scotland. Or as one person once said, the difference between opposition and government is opposition wakes up in the morning and says, what will we say today? Government wakes up and says, what will we do? Sadly, under Nicola Sturgeon and Humza Yousaf, they're a bit fixated on what they're going to say. They should be a wee bit more fixated on what they do.
Chris, for joining us here on Talk TV and talking to us about the extraordinary interview I think everyone should probably listen to, I haven't yet, that Humza Yousaf has given to Nick Robinson over on the BBC.